All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Frank Luppino, CEO of Remedium Bio. Very happy to be here today to tell you about our company. Before I start the presentation, just a quick framing of Remedium. We are a preclinical stage biotechnology company just initiating now a Series A raise, the intent of which is to sprint to the clinic around an asset and technology that until very recently was in stealth mode, but since we've unveiled it, has actually attracted a lot of attention, and we've pivoted as a company to lean into that attention, and I'm going to tell you that story right now. We are a gene therapy company, but not in the way that you might be used to thinking of gene therapy companies. Most of the first generation, I call them, gene therapy companies are developing treatments for rare and monogenetic disorders. Those products are starting to come to the market now. Amazing transformational effects, single treatment, nearly curative effects, impacting patients' lives significantly, but they're impacting a relatively small number of patients' lives. At Remedium, our mission is to deliver the curative potential of gene therapy to prevalent diseases and larger clinical needs. And at first, you might think, is that something we really want to do? Isn't gene therapy extremely expensive, sometimes risky, and really only suited to treat rare monogenetic disorders? But the answer to those questions is really a resounding no. Not inherently. The limitations on today's gene therapies are the result of current generation technology challenges that we think are solvable, and if addressed, could usher in a second phase of the recombinant protein therapeutic revolution, can bring the potential for enhanced safety and efficacy, and you could envision a future where you've removed a significant burden from patients and the healthcare system in general, from the need for repeat and continual injections and transfusions for the rest of the lives for these patients in many cases. So the challenges preventing this are numerous. The technologies coming to the market today are delivered with viral vectors. They're immunogenic, causes a lot of problems. They are extremely expensive to manufacture. A challenge with today's gene therapies is that the majority of the material that's injected into the patient goes right to the liver. The liver's a big sink. It's like a sponge, and it creates toxicity problems and other issues. And finally, the most important limitation is dose inflexibility. The benefit of gene therapy is one treatment, durable effects. Flip side of that is you get that one treatment and you're stuck with that dose kind of forever. You have no ability to adjust it in response to the clinical need. It's severely limiting for a lot of indications. So you might think, given that list of challenges, we should be happy with what gene therapies are starting to bring to the treatment of the rare and monogenetic disorders. But we think it would be a shame because despite the significant advances in protein therapeutics over the last several decades, there remain challenges with that technology that could be solved with the right gene therapy technology. I list several on this slide, but the most important is highlighted on the right. It's the pharmacokinetic sawtoothing you get with these treatments, driven by the need to deliver them parenterally by injection or infusion, and repeatedly because of the short half-lives. You get the spikes that can drive side effects, adverse events, that can limit efficacy, that can reduce compliance. And at those troughs, you're underdosed basically for a period of time. So Remedium's developed a solution that we call Prometheus. Prometheus is a new way to deliver therapeutic proteins with a simple, low-cost, durable, one-time injectable gene therapy that's dose adjustable. So it consists of a proprietary lipid nanoparticle carrier, and we're delivering DNA by a simple subcutaneous injection that targets very specifically adipocytes to result in durable protein expression and with optimized pharmacokinetics, eliminates the spikes, eliminates the troughs. We've designed into the system the ability to adjust the dose up, down, or off as needed. And importantly, all this can be accomplished for a cost to manufacture that is orders of magnitude less than the cost of today's gene therapy and less expensive to manufacture than a single recombinant protein injection for many of today's largest selling protein therapeutics.
Is Prometheus subcutaneous?
Subcutaneous.
It is.
Yeah. So the way it works is a simple subcutaneous injection. We're delivering DNA And as I mentioned, we're specifically targeting adipocytes, fat cells. We're turning your fat cells into little protein-making factories. We've designed the system so that the injected material essentially stays at the injection site, but the proteins that are expressed are taken up in systemic circulation so they can have their clinical effect. We have data on this slide. I'm not going to spend time going through it in any detail. Anybody interested in any of the data I present or anything else? I'm here. Love to talk to you. But what these data show in vivo is that with a single simple subcutaneous injection, we are very specifically hitting our target tissue, the adipocytes, even to the exclusion of neighboring cells in adjacent tissues like the hair follicles, for example. And that all of the material that's being expressed stays at the injection site. We don't detect it anywhere else. We've evaluated distal organs, heart, spleen, kidney, liver. We don't detect any of the transgene down to very low levels. So we're essentially entirely avoiding the whole liver issue with our technology. It's an extremely safe technology. Once again, additional data that I won't go into too much detail on. Suffice it to say, these are in vivo data that show single subcutaneous injection. You have durable, stable expression without the spikes, without the troughs. The expression will last for years, we believe, and we have the ability to increase the dose, as you see in the middle, or decrease the dose, either in a controlled, stepwise manner, as you see on the right, or to shut it off completely. This combination of functionality with the gene therapy, dose up, dose down, dose off, exists nowhere else except with our technology. So what types of proteins can we deliver with the technology? Gene therapies are generally limited by size. So we've shown that we can deliver proteins as small as simple peptides, GLP-1, insulin, all the way up to very complex macromolecules like full-length monoclonal antibodies, aducanumab, Humira. And so this opens up an extremely broad range of potential therapeutic indications covering the largest classes of biologics in use today, all delivered with the same simple, low-cost manufacturing process, all delivered with a single injection, durable efficacy, and all delivered with the same zero-order kinetics that eliminates the spikes, eliminates the troughs. So the lead indication that we chose to demonstrate the power of Prometheus is the delivery of GLP-1s for the treatment of type 2 diabetes and obesity. Most of us are probably familiar with these treatments. Some of us maybe are lucky enough not to have come across these treatments yet. So just briefly, the GLP-1s have been used for a number of years to treat type 2 diabetes. They have amazing effects on blood biomarkers, glucose control, insulin sensitivity. They also have the nice effect of causing you to lose weight. So that's what lit the fire under this product class. And it is now the fastest growing product class and about, soon to become the largest selling product class in the history of pharmaceuticals.
So GLP-1 is Ozempic?
Ozempic. Exactly. These products are growing so fast. There's a few challenges that remain with these. Otherwise, they're like miracle drugs, basically. Supply is one challenge. They can't make enough of this stuff. And as it grows, that problem is only going to get worse. So we think our Prometheus technology has the potential to address the last remaining challenges of this treatment class. First off, the supply issue. We could probably solve this problem overnight if you adopted our technology with the single injection, years-long efficacy versus the repeat daily, weekly injections that you have to do now. But even more importantly, the effects of these products are really amazing every day. Cardiovascular benefits, neurological benefits. We're discovering new benefits to being on these GLP-1s. But even given all of that, prescribing data in the US show that up to 70% of patients are discontinuing treatment within the first year after they go on these treatments. And you need to stay on these to maintain those effects. Everything reverses. Two primary reasons people give usually for discontinuation. One is cost. These are expensive treatments that have to be repeatedly and indefinitely delivered. With Prometheus, we have tremendous pricing power. We project that our GLP-1 construct at scale can be manufactured for less than $50 a dose. This is truly a global asset with pricing power in markets globally. But the second issue with these treatments is the side effect profile. Gastrointestinal issues, nausea. Many patients suffer that fairly severely. And those are associated with those pharmacokinetic spikes you get with each treatment cycle. With Prometheus's ability to eliminate those spikes, we think we have the opportunity for better efficacy, but with lower peak concentrations or Cmax levels and a more tolerable safety profile. So we've evaluated our technology in a preclinical model that has translated well to the clinic for other incretin mimetics, this product class, and has even been used to evaluate the effects of the daily protein injections historically. So we evaluated two different constructs in our Prometheus technology, GLP-1 and EX4 or exenatide. That's a receptor agonist. It's commercially sold as bupireon. And we had low-fat, high-fat diet controls in the study. So I won't, again, go through too much detail here, but the key efficacy performance parameters in this model are weight loss, insulin, and glucose. So we're showing that after a single treatment with Prometheus in this model, we're getting up to 20% weight loss after 4 weeks with the GLP-1 construct. That's a magnitude of weight loss that's even greater than the daily protein injections historically show in this model. So it works quickly. Similarly, we're getting statistically significant improvements in the blood-based biomarkers of the insulin, the glucose response to challenge test. So one treatment, it works quickly and it's durable. So these data come from a 4-month time point at the terminal endpoint of this study. Both of those constructs, again, GLP-1 EX4 delivered with Prometheus, are maintaining glucose levels that are the same as the healthy animals and statistically significantly improved compared to the high-fat diet animals. And the benefits extend beyond the blood-based biomarkers. This is preservation of pancreatic islets. Same thing, statistically significant improvements over the high-fat diet controls. So we're ecstatic about the delivery of a GLP-1 with a gene therapy with optimized pharmacokinetics. We're not the only ones who see the potential of this treatment modality. There is a competitive product, gene therapy GLP-1, also a preclinical asset, a little bit ahead of us, not too far ahead of us. Their data also show that a single gene therapy treatment is outperforming daily protein injections. The difference being they use current generation technology, the viral delivery vectors. It's an expensive treatment. It's invasively delivered. The vector will be distributed systemically. It will engender an immune response. And most importantly, you can't adjust the dose. So you get this treatment, you feel a little nauseous. What are you going to do? Our technology is significantly superior to this technology. Nevertheless, these guys IPO'd within the last couple of weeks. They raised over $100 million, in large part based on this asset. We are also getting unsolicited interest that's starting to come in from big players in this space. One I can't name, one I can name. There's Novo trying to figure out what we're doing. Early stage, I don't want to oversell it, but we're having conversations now around what we're doing. So it's getting very interesting. So as excited as we are about the GLP-1 asset, it is our intent. It applies much more broadly. Prometheus is not a GLP-1 asset only. So we do intend to build out our pipeline. We're hoping to do that with strategic partners after we conduct our Series A raise, because the technology really can do a lot of pretty neat things. And we really think we're on the cusp of an evolution in gene therapy, not too dissimilar to the 80s when we transitioned from mainframes to personal computers. The gene therapies coming to the market today, represented by the top of this pyramid, are treating the rare monogenetic disorders. The fatal disease outcomes are very debilitating disease outcomes. Safety is a factor, but it's weighed against those outcomes and lack of alternatives. Cost is a factor, but these are really small patient populations. So you can entertain the conversation about the $2, $3, $4 million treatment cost. We believe that over time, as the technology gets better, safer, less expensive, in more and more instances, gene therapy is going to be the preferred treatment alternative.
So exactly how does this work? You know, it's hard. So how does it work that you're able to hold the amount of
Sure. There's two things you want to do with the dose. You want to either increase it or decrease it. So the system we developed is non-antigenic, so you do not form an immune response to it. you do to current generation gene therapy. So that prevents you from ever retreating. That doesn't happen with ours. You can retreat repeatedly, and all you get is an incremental increase in expression. So increasing the dose is simple. You just, another non-invasive subcutaneous injection. It's proportional, it's durable, it's predictable. It's as durable as the original treatment. So that's up. Dosing down, we actually have several proprietary methods covered by our IP here. They include actually both physical methods. They include pharmacologic or chemically induced approaches. They include approaches that can shut down expression permanently or only temporarily. Some of the approaches involve getting rid of the cells. So one of the advantages to very, very specifically targeting adipocytes is that you can eliminate the cells. A lot of other gene therapies, depot approaches, trying to do what we're doing, are targeting organs like the liver. You can't do that with the liver. Nobody's going to miss a few fat cells. So there are things like suicide genes that you can program into the genetics, and you deliver a safe small molecule that's an approved product on the market already, and the cells commit suicide basically. So that's one way to shut it down very quickly. We have other methods that are less destructive to the cell that act by epigenetics, but we have multiple approaches covered by our IP.
And how much, what kind of IP do you have? Like how many patents, things like that?
We have 5 patents that cover this particular technology. It's very broad. It's interesting because we use a lipid nanoparticle. Everybody's familiar with the mRNA vaccines. There's been a lot of work in LNPs. Surprisingly, most of that work was mRNA, not DNA. We're delivering DNA. And also most of that work, nobody was targeting adipocytes because you're not trying to cure any diseases in adipocytes. So the space was pretty barren. We went there, we planted our flag. We took out very broad IP, and it's very difficult to do this. We have to target the right cells. We have to get DNA into the nucleus. We have to have it form an episome that will promote stable expression. We have to get the protein back out of the cell efficiently. So we have pretty complex IP that ties this space up. Sorry? Can we ratchet the DNA down to 0? Yeah, we can get rid of it completely.
I'm a type 2 diabetic, so I can address what you're talking about. And in my case, the older I get, it becomes more the cells become more insulin resistant. How does your product, or how can this technology address that? Because it could be an age issue, or it could be something else, but the cells are not absorbing. I produce the insulin.
Yeah. I mean, one of the nice things about the GLP-1s is it does help specifically with insulin resistance via an active mechanism, but what it also does is help you lose weight. A lot of the insulin resistance, or with a lot of people, can be due to the weight issues, and when you lose those, you get better. The third thing that helps here is that I showed our data protecting pancreatic islets. GLP-1s are known to have that effect, and they've even been shown recently to have some effect on type 1 diabetics. So if you get on these early enough, you're not going to develop that insulin resistance that you have. These are one of the most effective treatments for type 2 diabetes that are out there. Oh, sure. Interchangeably. The question was delivery platform versus a system. I guess I used both, but it's a platform technology in that we can deliver a very, very large array of therapeutic proteins. GLP is just one example, but it's a big example, and it's where we started, but it can apply across a lot of therapeutic modalities. Anything where the protein is distributed systemically to have its effect be felt. Oh, sure.
I'm curious where the IP originated, and do you have any idea of what the timeline would be to go through a clinical process? Because I'm thinking with your indications, you're using like existing medicines, right?
Yes.
So would that mean your study group, the patient pool can be smaller, and what type of when you might expect, like what kind of timeline?
Sure. There's a question, where'd the IP come from, and then study timeline, potentially. So first IP, it's our IP. We developed the IP. We do this with we have a couple of other products that we've sort of de-emphasized once we got this out there. All internally developed, so we own it all. part of our DNA, so to speak, is that what we're doing is trying to build on clinically validated fundamentals. So we do that when we construct our genetic constructs, our formulations. Our LNPs are using elements that have already been approved in other LNPs, but it's not a proprietary formulation that we're violating. It's our unique proprietary formulation. We do the same thing with the clinical mechanism of action. We're taking already validated therapeutic modalities. So in this case, GLP-1s, we know GLP-1s, if you inject them today subcutaneously and you get the protein there, you get this effect. All we're doing is having that happen naturally and continuously. And so we believe that we can de-risk the clinical phase and actually speed it up a little bit by using these clinically validated elements. We do project, so that's our story
There's financials here?
partially. Yeah, so this top line is a rough timeline for getting this GLP-1 asset to the clinic. We have to go through the IND enabling studies. We're in talks to design a clinical approach now. And we're looking at a $20 million Series A that will allow us to get into the clinic and actually get a clinical read. But we believe that there's some levers we can pull to pull that timeline in. We think we can beat this competitor potentially to the clinic. And so we have this expanded seed raise ongoing now so we can get critical path items going, pull that in. We think we can be in the clinic by the middle of 25 with this, and we can get a clinical read in early 26 with this. We think that given the interest we're seeing, one way or another, we would exit in 26 after that. But it does apply to the other clinical indications we could target, and that would, if we decided to go after rheumatoid arthritis, we could express aducanumab, and we know once we get it there at certain concentrations, it would have an effect.
Rich, do you have a question? Wait, 30 seconds or less.
Whoever acquires us is ultimately going to price it, but I think it'll. Oh, sorry, I thought you meant the GLP-1 construct. The Series A is going to be priced when we get a lead. Dance partner, we just sort of kicked this off. I mentioned we did this pivot recently because this was kind of in stealth mode for a while. So we're just getting out there now, which is why we have an expanded seed to get moving while we're raising. So we haven't priced the Series A yet.
I might have some suggestions on deck, but this is really a great presentation. I know a half a dozen people in our group who are taking Ozempic, so, and
Oh,
actually, one was at dinner last night and was talking about how miraculous it was, so fantastic.
Yeah, these are great drugs.
Great. Well, fantastic. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.